breaking news on talkSPORT.
And it is Manchester United who are breaking news this afternoon, and Alex Crook, talkSPORT's football correspondent, has it for us.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. No real surprise, but Manchester United in the last few minutes have confirmed they've reached an agreement with Ajax for the signing of the Argentine international defender Lisandro Martinez. It's a fairly brief statement from Manchester United, but confirming that agreement with the Dutch Giants, saying this move is subject to medical and player terms being finalised. Also still looking to secure Martinez a visa, but looks like this one will happen now. £46 million plus add-ons, talkSPORT understands will be the fee. It will be a 5-year contract. Martinez, of course, rejecting interest from Perry's old club Arsenal to reunite with Erik ten Hag at Old Trafford. He'll be their third and not their last signing of this transfer window.
You mentioned the Dutch giants Ajax. Martinez ain't exactly a giant, Cook, is he, for a centre-half?
No, I'm bigger than him.
No, you're not.
I actually am. He's 1m75. I'm 1m77 and a half.
That's in your Cuban heels, though.
No, it's not. I've had it measured, and I have to measure myself and know exact height because Crookie gives me so much hell about it.
What's that in old? Says 5'9".
5'9.5".
Yes. You're not 5'9.5".
Okay,
You're on the laugh.
Okay, we'll get a tape measure out. Get a tape measure out.
What, with your quiff? No way, Pedro.
Crook, I'm sure you've got more important things to talk about than that.
Crookie, so...
not really. Let's carry on talking about Sam's lack of height.
He can play, obviously, centre-half, but he can actually play holding midfield player, can't he?
And left-back.
Yeah, I'm not sure they'll use him at left back necessarily. Obviously, they've still got Luke Shaw there, and they've already signed Malaysia to come in as cover for him. So they're fairly well stocked in that department. It wouldn't surprise me if they used him as a defensive midfielder, because that's been an area where United have been really lacking in recent years. But primarily, I think he would play as a central defender. I know Rio Ferdinand has spoken about his concerns about that lack of height. Can he cope with the physicality? We're going to be speaking to a former teammate of Martinez on White and Jordan tomorrow, Joel Veltman. He's quite vociferous. He says that he is an aggressive player. He won't be daunted by the physicality of the Premier League. He thinks he will be a success. But yeah, concerns have been raised. But listen, United just need bodies, don't they? They need bodies all over the pitch. He's someone who Ten Hag made his primary target, even though Pau Torres at Villarreal was the left-sided central defender that was actually recommended by the United scouting department. I think it's a really interesting dynamic to see how Ten Hag is operating this summer. He's looking for players, and we can see that, players that primarily played under him in Holland, or in the case of Malaysia, players who've played against him, players he thinks will be able to adapt to his system straight away. And I think, bearing in mind the season starts, in 3 weeks' time now, live on talkSPORT, I think that's a sensible approach from Ten Hag.
Crookie, so who goes in? I've just had a count up. Manchester United now have 7 centre-halves.
Well, there's talk that Phil Jones is wanted by his former teammate Wayne Rooney at DC United. I think United would be more than willing to pay the airfare for him. It just hasn't worked out for Phil Jones, has it? Mainly due to injury, but I think he needs a change of scenery. I think MLS would probably be a good destination for him. Eric Bailly is an interesting one because there's been interest from Fulham, and I think he was one of the players that maybe was deemed surplus to requirements. But actually, if you look at the first 2 pre-season friendlies, and I know it's only pre-season, he's actually done quite well, Eric Bailly. And I've always felt, and maybe Sam's got a different opinion because he calls him an emergency services defender. He thinks that he's always in the wrong position and gets injured because he's making these last-ditch tackles to make up for that. I think when he's fit, I think there's a good player there in Eric Bailly.
I like the fact that everyone's banging on about the fact that he did this brilliant swashbuckling run in the game against Liverpool. If he had lost the ball, Manchester United would have been in massive trouble on the turnover. They didn't, and they scored a goal as a result of it. So, look, yeah, I just think too many times I think he pulls the emergency called.
Lacks concentration.
Yeah, a little bit. He hasn't played consistency well for Manchester United for a long time, and he's not the only one. That's true, but he's also struggled with injuries as well. Any other big transfer rumours that are doing the rounds this weekend that don't involve Manchester United? I mean, we won't bother talking to you about De Jong because on the Game Day podcast, which is available on Spotify and all the other ways that you can get your podcast, you and I had quite an intense discussion about it. So, what else is going on?
Yeah, I'm fed up with talking about De Jong, to be honest. In fact, I might make an amnesty not to mention De Jong now until he's signed as a Manchester United player. We will talk about Calvin Bassey, though. This was one that we broke on White and Jordan earlier this week. Interest from Brighton in the Premier League as a possible replacement for Marc Cucurella. Should he go to Manchester City? Obviously, Zinchenko is destined, we understand, for Arsenal, so maybe City might step up their interest now in Cucurella. But Calvin Bassey won't be going to the Amex. He'll be going to Ajax to replace, in part, Lisandro Martinez. The two clubs have agreed a fee. They're going to be discussing personal terms, and he is flying over to Amsterdam to undergo a medical. I think this is a brilliant move for Calvin Bassey, a player who excelled in that Europa League run, Sam, that you commentated when Rangers got to the final, and was probably, certainly from a Rangers perspective, the best player on the pitch in Seville.
He was outstanding, wasn't he? Crookie, you're our South Coast expert, and other than our transfer guru, right? So Bournemouth, two signings, Ryan Fredericks, Joe Rothwell. So are they in danger of becoming the new Norwich?
I don't know if I would go quite that far.
Why not?
But I think
they haven't signed anybody, really.
He probably would have done if it was Norwich, wouldn't it?
Oh, was it because logistics?
I think they're struggling financially a little bit this summer to compete even with those newly promoted clubs. You know, you look at Forest and Fulham, who've done big business. I think Bournemouth are trying to be intelligent. They might even have one eye on the Championship next season.
So Bournemouth
which was something
are trying
I
to be
accused Norwich
intelligent,
of.
and Norwich aren't.
I know you'll call me a hypocrite. They have put a bid in.
You've just called
for
yourself.
Marcus Tavernier
There's no way in this world that
Middlesbrough.
Crookie would ever set the narrative to suit his own agenda. That would just never happen. That would never happen. No.
I can't believe
It's nice to see that Bournemouth are being intelligent with their transfer policy.
One thing I will say is that one thing that Bournemouth have got going for them is the fact that they've got a very intelligent sporting director who knows the market and is very thoughtful about things and prudent, and they've got a very good manager in Scott Parker who's very popular amongst his players, and also I think he'll do a good job this year.
On the subject of Bournemouth, though, you have given me the opportunity to plug the boot room coming up later. I've got Darren Ambrose and Adebayo Akinfenwa alongside me, and we've got Ryan Christie joining us live from the Bournemouth training camp in Portugal. And maybe I'll ask him, Perry Groves is writing you off as Championship fodder. Does that give you motivation?
No, I didn't.
Do you think Perry Groves will be outlawed from the borough of Bournemouth like you weren't allowed to enter the city walls in Norwich?
I hope not, because Perry and I have got a couple of nice little spots where we go for post-match beers when we're working at the Vitality, so I hope they don't ban him.
And he'll go, Perry, who?
Cheers. Thank you very much, Crook. We'll see you a little bit later on. Crook doing the boot room. Are you sitting in the big chair again? He's sitting in the big chair again today.
Is he?
Yeah. I think he's.
I think with Crookie, I
think he's edged Darren Bent out. I think that's the rumour.
It'll look like a little milking stool, wouldn't it? If Crookie, it's not a big chair of Crookies in it. No chance.